2012年9月17日，前美國明尼蘇達州州長 Jesse Ventura 接受著名新聞媒體 CNN 節目 Piers Morgan Tonight 訪問。本來呢一次訪問係想要從 Jesse 嘅口中套取主流媒體嘅觀點，以批評兩位總統候選人嘅施政。但係 Jesse 卻藉機會揭露主流媒體所封鎖嘅現實，最終逼得主持人 Piers Morgan 只能站喺主流傳媒嘅立場，一味嘅反對。呢個正完全吻合2011年5月份 Webbot 嘅預測。例如，當談及喺利比亞班加西大使館遇襲，美國利比亞大使被殺時 ，Jesse 不但冇因為軍人出身以支持美國出兵報復，相反，佢認為美國而家已經破產，唔應該再干預別國。
Mitt Romney's had a rough week because of the Benghazi incident, in which he was deemed by most people, including many on his own side, to have jumped in with a critical statement of the president, really without knowing all the facts, and turning it into a political football when most people thought that was the wrong thing to be doing.
Oh, I agree.
As an American politician at that time.
Well, absolutely. When our country's attacked in any way, shape, or form, we need to pull together. We need to come together, not separate at that point. I mean, you want what I would do over there? I would do what the pinnacle of the Republican Party, the hero, whatever, of modern day, Ronald Reagan did. Do you recall back in the 80s when the barracks in Lebanon was hit and over 200 Marines were killed? Did Ronald Reagan go to war? No, he got us the hell out of there. And that's where I stand on this. If these people don't want us over there, let's close our embassies. I stand with Ron Paul. Let's get rid of foreign aid altogether. Because as Ron Paul put it, the definition of foreign aid, that's taking from America's poor and giving it to another country's rich.
Yeah, but hang on, Jesse.
Wait a minute.
You wait a minute. It's my show. Wait a minute. Hey, let me just challenge you. I'm challenging you because I think that is taking one extreme and going to the other. It may well be that America has too many embassies, has too much say in too many countries.
We're also broke.
Of course, you're not the only country.
How can we give to foreign aid?
You're not the only country that's broke in the world right now.
We're giving foreign aid on a basic term for you people. That would be the equivalent. You're losing your house. You're 3 payments behind on your car, but your cousin Bob from out of state needs to borrow $500 from you. Are you going to send it?
Well,
when you can't even make your own house payments?
Jesse, America,
we're broke. How in debt are we?
Well, you're certainly not as broke as many countries around the world.
Well, if they're worse and in more debt than us, I want to see a country that can say they have more debt than we do.
America remains a superpower. And
America, sure we are.
And all superpowers, I believe, have a responsibility to other countries around the world. Now, it may not be responsible. Really?
No.
You don't think America should have any involvement in any country in the world?
Sure, we can have involvement if they ask us. Since when should we be the world's policemen? Why do we have military bases in 160-some countries? We have no foreign country has a base here. Imagine if Hugo Chavez decided to buy 1,000 acres of land by Palm Springs and move the Venezuelan military in there. What do you think our reaction would be to that? Yet we have multiple bases in Korea, multiple bases in Japan, multiple bases in Germany. And Piers, last time I checked, those wars were over 60 years ago. Why are we still there?
Well, the argument would be to prevent another war of that nature. Why would you laugh at that? Isn't there a reality that there are lots of people out there who would like to harm America and its interests?
Our military today is so advanced, we can be anywhere in the world in a matter of seconds, minutes or hours. We do not need to be an empire like Rome, occupying with our military throughout the world. And if you notice, I'm getting nothing but nods out here, Piers.
Do you think
from
America
regular
would be
American
safer?
cities.
Would America be safer
safe.
without any embassies in any country?
I'm not saying necessarily to get rid of embassies. Absolutely have embassies. But if these Middle Eastern countries are going to behave towards us the way they do, then let's get the hell out of there and leave them to their own.
例如，當問及刺殺拉登係咪使美國更安全時 ，Jesse 再一次冇因為曾係海豹突擊隊員站喺美國政府嘅陣線，相反佢更揭露美國政府嘅陰暗面，
But be honest, is America any safer now than it was when he was killed? Or from all we're seeing now in the Middle East, all the uprisings, all the kind of reverse Arab Spring, if you like, are you concerned that it may be a hornet's nest that's getting out of control?
No, because I think that lots of times these uprisings are orchestrated. I believe in the works of Colonel L. Fletcher Prouty when he said, nothing just happens, everything is planned. I truly believe that. And so these uprisings that are happening right now, we don't know really who's behind them. They could be our own CIA helping to do it.
Right, well,
who knows?
Did we know who we were backing? I mean, that's one of the key questions.
Backing at what?
Well, in Libya, in Egypt.
I have no idea.
All these countries. When you oppose a Mubarak or a Gaddafi or so on, did we really know who these rebels were? And are we now perhaps seeing the results of not knowing too well who they are?
We're here wanting to give democracy to people who have lived, in my opinion, in the Stone Age. I think the bigger question to ask is, here we go, another religious war. Because most every war that happens on this planet is due to the fact of religion. One religion doesn't like the way another religion worships God, so we're going to kill you. I love religion, and I say that sarcastically.
Hang on, I thought.
And I say that because I've openly admitted I'm an atheist.
I thought you said earlier that all wars were about, oil and corporations.
They are, but they're all religious-based too.
So they're all about religion and oil and corporations.
Could be,
and occasionally getting rid of the Nazis.
Yeah.
So my point is,
the Nazis
can be over many things.
The Nazis was religious too. Look what they did to the Jews. So that brought religion in. Vietnam was religious because Diem, our puppet president, and our country brought 100 Christian Vietnamese down to the south to be the government. Well, the southern Vietnamese didn't like these religious characters from up north, so they then became the Viet Cong. So all wars, pretty much in my lifetime, have had some religious basis, but certainly big business gets in there because wars are very profitable to certain big businesses. And of course, big business needs to be in the Middle East so that we can get the oil out of the Middle East, so we can get the lithium out of Afghanistan. They discovered a vein of lithium there. They say is worth $1 trillion. Well, what is lithium used for? Every cell phone, computer, and soon to be electric cars. Let's talk about why we're really there. We're not there. How does any of these wars affect our freedom in any way? The United States is not in any threat. They're not going to do a Normandy invasion on us, Al-Qaeda in Virginia.
No, but hang on, you're being slightly naive, aren't you? Because
I'm not being naive, sir.
I think you are being naive.
No.
Because I think that it's clear one of the main reasons that America went into Afghanistan was to try and get Al-Qaeda dismantled, the organization which committed the 9/11 atrocity.
Really?
Well, you don't think so?
Well, how come Al-Qaeda put the heroin business out? They took all the poppy growers and stopped the production of heroin.
What would you have done?
Wait, now how much of that illegal heroin was propping up the international banks with laundered money, and when it dried up, the first recession happened? Well, now that we're back in there, we aligned with the poppy growers, and the heroin business is back up full swing again. I thought we fight a war on drugs here.
All right, Jesse,
Seems we're not.
當主持人想以911作為話題，希望得到主流答案時，再一次 Jesse 揭露911係政府策動嘅，主持人被迫以陰謀論者作出還擊。
We're not.
What would you have done on September the 12th, 2001? What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice's memo on August 6th when it stated right in the memo, bin Laden took steal planes and run them into buildings. And more stuff is coming out now also, how much the Bush administration ignored the intelligence. It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
Oh, come off it, Jesse.
No, not come off it. Wait a minute. No. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness, sit there and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. How much studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to people. Wait a minute.
Every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well, then how come? Let me ask you this.
You cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen or wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed. World Trade Center Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour, yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England that, yes, it's true,
you need to
that this building fell and it hadn't fallen yet.
If you're trying to make out the British Broadcasting Company, one of the most respected news organisations in the world, was inventing huge buildings falling over, you need to have a break, Jesse. We'll come back after the break and we'll talk about Israel and Iran.
Are you kidding me? This is a fact, my friend.
Back with Jesse Ventura live along with our studio audience. We left a fairly heated debate about various theories that you have about 9/11 and so on. Let's move on to...
and the government only has a theory.
Right, well, the government has
No, this is a theory. Their theory is 19 Islamic radicals armed with box cutters defeated our multi-billion-dollar air defense system, all while conspiring with a bearded guy in a cave in Afghanistan.
That is exactly what happened.
That's their theory.
No, that's not a theory. It's a fact.
That's their theory.
No, Jesse,
that's a fact.
That's what happened.
Really?
Yes, I'm sorry to kill your conspiracy theories, but that is what happened.
Then why haven't anyone been brought up for trial?
Because
they haven't given one shred of evidence in a trial.
In case you missed the story.
Well, then what do we got all these guys in Gitmo for? And we got the supposed confessor to it, who they waterboarded 180 times to get the confession. Got news for you, Piers. If they waterboarded you 180 times, you'd confess to it.
See, now you're missing the point. On that very point, I don't agree with Guantanamo Bay. I didn't agree with the waterboarding, personally. Let's move on.
而 Jesse 所談及嘅 BBC 新聞台影片喺所羅門兄弟大廈，亦即係世貿大廈7號大樓仲未倒下之前，已經作出報導，講出7號大樓倒塌嘅狀況。佢哋仿似按住計劃預先得到稿件一樣。
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job. But this isn't the first building that has suffered as a result. We know that part of the Marriott Hotel next to the World Trade Center also collapsed as a result of this huge amount of falling debris from 110 floors of the two twin towers of the World Trade Center. As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them today.
喺 Jesse 訪問嘅另一部分，當問及伊朗核問題時 ，Jesse 同樣冇落入圈套，亦冇指責伊朗，甚至贏得觀眾嘅掌聲。
Let's move on. Let's move on to Iran and Israel. If you were the American president, with all the jungle drums beating now about Iran, would you take any military action?
Well, first let me state that Iran has to do this. Because if you notice, the United States doesn't mess with any country that's got nuclear capabilities. They only mess with countries that don't. So all countries that don't have it strive to get it because it's a safety mechanism to have it. So of course Iran is going to try to get the stuff.
Should they be allowed to have it?
Should they be allowed to? I don't know.
Well, yes or no?
I don't know.
You're a man of opinions.
No, I don't.
You may be running for office. You're entitled to know what you think.
Not right now. You don't. I need to study it more.
How very
I need
convenient.
To look. Yes, it is very convenient.
So you know about everything that happened before 9/11, but right now, when you have Iran potentially nuking itself up, you don't have an opinion.
Well, let's leave that up to the nuclear inspectors that go in there. They will tell us whether they're nuking it up before you decide to bomb them.
I didn't decide to bomb anybody.
No, but you seem to be very favorable.
You're trying to put words
it.
into my mouth all the time, which is it's not a very good technique when you're debating with somebody. Just
you're going to, well, how many political offices have you held?
None.
Then don't tell me how to debate, because I've held 2.
Oh, I've debated many times.
But you've never won an election where a debate was required.
I think you make some very sensible points, and you make some crackpot points.
That's your opinion?
Yes.
How many people here think I make crackpot points?
Yeah.
1. How many think I make sensible points? You're in a minority, my good friend. You're the minority.